What's up, and welcome to Clarity for Parents of Athletes, bringing you stories from professional athletes about their parents and how they were raised. My name is Gabe Nosseir from aclearmind.com. All right, and welcome to episode number 33. I hope you're doing well during this time with the COVID-19 pandemic that is happening. I wanted to use this episode as another way to provide support for you and your family during this time. So I brought on a very, very special guest, and I'll talk about her in just a little bit. But as always, I want to start with asking you to please share my podcast so that other parents can learn from the athletes that I've interviewed, from the episodes with myself, and what you're going to hear today as well, because it's going to benefit you and your family and many other people. So as well as sharing it, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast as well on all the platforms that you can, especially Apple Podcast. I appreciate that. So the guest today is my lovely wife, Angie King-Nosseir, who is going to talk about a lot of nutritional benefits and tips that you can give or you can perform for yourself and for your family. Now, this is related to the COVID-19, what you can do to keep your immune system at a high level, but it's also even beyond that, because we can always keep our immune system at a high level no matter if we have some kind of pandemic or we don't have a pandemic, because obviously the healthier our body is, whether we're parents or athletes or just people in general who aren't parents or athletes, the higher we can keep our body revving, then the more benefit that we're going to get out of it, both physically but also emotionally as well. You feel good, and physically you're going to feel good emotionally. So she gives a lot of amazing tips and things that she does for our family, which I'm very, very appreciative of. So I know you're going to get a lot out of it. Now, if you want to work with Angie, you can reach out to her on her website, which is Enlightened Wellness FX. F is in Frank and X is in X-ray. So enlightenedwellnessfx.com. I'm going to put that link in the show notes as well, so you can get a hold of her. She works with people, obviously, as a registered dietitian, which she is, but she's also an amazing transformative life and spiritual coach. Now, you can work with her being your transformative coach, but you can also add nutrition as well if you want her to help you with the nutritional side. Although just know that if you want to do nutrition with her, you have to do the transformative coaching, because there's so much emotional tie-ins with how the physical body is responding. So you have to be prepared to dig deep with her, just like you do with me as well, if you ever work with me, and be willing to go there. So she doesn't just do nutrition, because you have to really be able to look at the emotional side of things, which will help your nutrition, will help your body, and obviously will help your emotional level. So without further ado, here is Angie King-Nosseir. All right, Angie King-Nosseir, welcome to my podcast. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
Of course. You're always welcome here. I'm doing very well. I appreciate it. It's kind of an interesting time in our lives, and I'm going to ask you some questions that, of course, I know the answer to, but I want our guests to know the answer to as well. So I've got to ask them. So typically what I do on this show is, you probably have listened to at least, hopefully, all of my episodes, if not one or two, but I always start with the athletic history of my guests. So, where'd you grow up? What'd you play? Give me the lowdown, or not me, but give our listeners the lowdown.
Well, I grew up in Buffalo, Texas, a tiny town in central East Texas, and My sports career, I can tell you now, is not going to be nearly as impressive as any of your guests that you've had on so far. So I grew up playing basketball. I was in the Little Dribblers program, and I played basketball in middle school for my school. And then I also played volleyball, which was my favorite sport, and was actually really pretty good at it. I worked really hard on my serve, and had a really killer serve. And also, I used to win the bumping contests.
Nice. Good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
The other thing, I did do track and field, but for me, that was really just to get exercise, to work out. I didn't do it to be competitive. I just wanted to to work out with the team. I did shot put and discus. At one point, we were short people, and I was forced into a relay race against my will, and and it was absolutely humiliating.
What happened? Yeah, now you have to tell the story. I have not heard this story, so please continue.
We were at a track meet, and I don't know what happened. I think somebody had gotten sick, and I can't remember which event. Maybe it been what are the relay races like? What
like 100, 400, 800. I don't know the rest. Maybe there's a 200 in there.
It may have been an 800, and I just remember being completely blown away by the competition. And then some people from the other school were on the sidelines, just totally heckling me the whole time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well, I appreciate your openness and your willingness to go there, and hopefully that didn't cause too much damage as a child.
No, luckily not too much, and it certainly didn't kill my competitive spirit. As you know, you witnessed me playing indoor soccer, and you know that I do have a major competitive streak, and I work really hard. So I was always a really hard worker, even though I wasn't the most athletically talented.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll leave it at that. What was the name of your indoor soccer team? Do you remember by chance?
You really want me to say that on here?
Okay, maybe not. Okay, so we'll skip that. But it was related to the platypus, right?
Yes.
Yes, it was a relative.
The team was started by some Aussie women.
All right, we'll leave it at that for now and let your imagination go wild. So, I appreciate you opening up about your athletic career. That was not the reason why I wanted to bring you on here. You are a holistic and integrative dietitian, as well as a transformative coach like I am. And you focus a lot, obviously, on the nutrition side with your clients if they want to go there. And you really take care of our family, and I really appreciate that I don't have to think too much about that aspect of our lives. I'm very blessed in that, so I appreciate that. And
my pleasure.
So the main reason why obviously I wanted to bring you on here was to talk to our listeners about keeping their family healthy, not just during this time of the COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak, but also just in general. What are some ways to keep their family healthy? What are some things that they need to take into account and should be focusing on to kind of keep the immune system revving up at a high level? But first of all, just so people understand and can know, what is an integrative and holistic dietitian?
It can look different for different practitioners. I am a registered dietitian. I have a master's degree in nutrition. from the University of New Mexico. And I also, beyond my conventional training, trained with the Institute for Functional Medicine, and, learned about a root causes approach to reversing as well as preventing chronic diseases. And it's really about treating the whole person, really looking at diet, lifestyle, and mindset to, come up with an individualized plan, a healing plan for a person.
Nice. And I imagine that with all the individuals you work on, you kind of tailor the nutritional side and the healing side to the individual. But I imagine there, in a kind of a macro level, there's a lot that many people can be doing right now to stay healthy, not just during the COVID-19 outbreak, but beyond that, and protect their family and keep their immune system essentially revving at a high engine. So what are some things that people can do to keep their families healthy?
Yeah, well, we'll start very basic because you're right. There's a lot of, there are a lot of general things that, everybody, needs to be doing to stay healthy and, to have a balanced immune response. So, not overactive, not underactive. One of the basic things is just making sure that, your family is getting a colorful and what I call majority plant-based diet. So really not necessarily vegan or vegetarian, but definitely including a lot of colorful plant foods. And this can range from, fruits and vegetables, but also, a moderate amount of whole grains and legumes, nuts and seeds, but really making sure that it's colorful and there's a variety so that you're getting all of the nutrients in. Nutritional deficiency is one of the main reasons why the immune system would be compromised in a otherwise healthy person.
So you're you kind of point at the cabinet and you say to me, like, take that, and that. And those are supplements, but what are some supplements and some maybe vitamins that people can boost in their families as they supplement with food?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, well, my main priority as far as nutrient supplementation, as far as immune function goes, is vitamin C. Vitamin C is, very important in reducing oxidative stress and inflammation, and also helping to clear toxins, neutralize toxins. And, oxidative stress, when we have a lot of oxidative stress going on, or inflammation or an inflammatory response, what's happening is, the body is using antioxidants to combat that oxidative stress, to try and neutralize it. So if one is actually, actively, acutely ill, there's going to be a lot of oxidative stress happening, and vitamin C is going to be used up pretty quickly. So, on a maintenance basis, most people, I would say, taking between 2,000 and 3,000 milligrams a day, especially right now. And then, but if you start having symptoms, there's literature, where much higher doses can be taken, and those higher doses are important to help calm that oxidative stress.
So, should they be taking pills, chewables, gel tabs, powder? What's kind of the best way to get vitamin C into the diet?
Well, as a supplement, personally, I like to use a vitamin C powder. But also, liposomal vitamin C is a very absorbable form. Anything liposomal is going to be taken up by the cells much more rapidly and efficiently. The problem with liposomal vitamin C is just that it's just far more expensive, and it is sufficient to take it in a non-liposomal form like we do.
And what exactly does liposomal mean for people out there and me who don't really can't keep up with everything that you speak about?
Oh, I thought you were going to know all the answers to all of your questions.
No, that's why I get to rely on you so you can answer certain things that I don't know about you or that you've told me probably several times, but I just say, you know what, she'll repeat it if I really, really need to.
Sure. So liposomal means that it's fat soluble. Vitamin C is typically water soluble, a water soluble nutrient, and but making it fat soluble actually improves the cell's ability to take it in.
Okay. Well, thanks for that explanation. Now, you usually put vitamin C in our smoothies, and you also put this green stuff that you tell me to put in there that regulates my blood sugar. But what is that green stuff?
Yeah, the green stuff is spirulina, and it's important before I even say more about spirulina. It's really important to let people know that if you have lupus or a family history of lupus, that it's probably better to avoid spirulina. And for those with an autoimmune condition, to use caution. Most reactions are most likely related to impurities, however. And it's important to get good quality spirulina. It needs to be organic and third-party verified, that there are no contaminants. And when it's pure, spirulina it's a blue-green algae. And it is gram for gram the most nutrient-dense food in the world.
Whoa. And what does it exactly do? How does it boost your immune system?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it does have what we call immunostimulatory properties. So it does stimulate the immune system. It also is immunomodulatory, which means that it can calm the immune system as well. So, it has a balancing impact, but it also has a lot. It's very rich in nutrients, and the protein quality is on par with the protein quality of eggs. It has all of the essential amino acids, to build muscle and to build tissues.
Nice. So it both is basically a protein powder, but also boosts the immune system as well. And I don't think probably whey and soy do that, do they?
No, not like spirulina. Whey can be helpful for the gut for people who tolerate it, but no, they don't act in the ways that spirulina does.
And those oxidative stress, that's what leads to illness and being vulnerable to illness, right?
It's sort of, yeah. So when we become ill, when there is an acute infection, there is an oxidative stress response. That is the immune response. But it can also cause damage if there is a very pronounced oxidative stress response. And that is actually what leads to the lung damage in those that are severely affected by COVID-19. It's that oxidative stress, the cytokine storm, that we hear about. And so that's why there are researchers in China and Shanghai who are studying right now high dose intravenous vitamin C in patients with COVID-19, and it actually is early in the study, but there are reports that it's looking promising.
Nice. Well, hopefully they keep up on that research. So, I really appreciate the fact that you keep up on this stuff and you're always learning new things and adapting our intake of supplements and nutrition, other nutritional aspects. But what are some other things that you also tell me to take and that others can find pretty easily and give to their families?
Yeah. So, one of the things that we have been taking for a while now, and that I'm really glad that we have for during this time, is a mushroom tincture. The one we take is from Thorne Research. It's called Mycoimmune, but there are other formulations out there that you can find, in a health food store. That are a mixture of various medicinal mushrooms that help to stimulate and bolster the immune response, and also, one of the ways that they work as well is, again, like vitamin C and spirulina, is to calm that oxidative stress response that can cause damage to the tissues when there's an immune response.
So I got stuck on medicinal mushrooms, and I just want to clarify out there, these aren't the medicinal mushrooms like from when everyone was in college or beyond that, right?
No, those would be magic mushrooms.
Oh, okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure that no one's going to go out there and buy some medicinal magic mushrooms out there. So is there a certain type of mushroom that is most medicinal?
Yeah, so the ones that I like to include are reishi, shiitake, maitake, turkey tail, and tremella or snow fungus. There's also a couple of other ones that you might see in a formula and would be perfectly wonderful to have in there. Would be chaga, cordyceps, lion's mane.
Nice. Cool. So I remember when we were skiing, you gave me a couple tinctures. It wasn't of the mushroom, but there was some adaptogens, and you are pretty big on adaptogens with our family as well. So for people out there, what are adaptogens, and what do you recommend that for other people that you also do for us?
Yeah, I do love adaptogens. Adaptogens generally are compounds that are non-toxic to the body and that balance the stress response. So they dampen the stress response. So they're really, really great at, if you are under stress, at just helping to shift the stress response of your body. And kind of keep one out of fight or flight. And this is really important for immune function, because when we are acutely stressed, instant, changes happen in the body that, create an immune response, and also will call upon, certain nutrients to be used. So if we're under chronic stress, important nutrients for immune function will be depleted, particularly zinc, which I see a lot in my practice.
So you recommend zinc? Because I know you make me take one a day as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I had you taking it because you were actually deficient at one point, so you were taking it for various reasons. But yeah, in general, zinc is best taken at, if there are acute symptoms or if you have an acute infection going on. If you don't know that you are deficient or have a tendency toward, like zinc insufficiency, then, you may not need to take it every day. Just make sure that you're getting foods that are rich in zinc. All foods that are rich in protein are pretty much rich in zinc. So think fish, your meats, nuts and seeds, and eggs. So back to the adaptogens. I just want to give your audience a few to look into on their own. The ones that I recommend a lot, or three of the ones that I recommend a lot and that we use in our house, are number one, rhodiola, which is very calming. It works pretty quickly. So, if you have a stressful situation happening and, you're really just spun up, you can take rhodiola and it's going to work very quickly to calm you down and just calm the mind, and calm that stress response in the body as well. It also has benefits for athletes in improving athletic endurance and stamina. So that's a really good one for athletes as well. And then we also use, and I recommend ashwagandha quite a bit. And that is an Ayurvedic herb. And it is, again, just very calming, and it's really good for sleep. So, you can take it multiple times a day. But if you're having trouble sleeping, you definitely want to take it also in the evening time, leading up to bedtime. And then the last one that I'll mention here is Tulsi or holy basil. And again, it's just another good one for calming stress, very effective. You can get it in tea form. All of these, you can get in tea, tincture, powder form. I like to use tinctures because they're better absorb more quickly. But the Tulsi is also really nice in tea form too.
Nice. So this all health basically comes from the gut and the health of the gut. There are tons of probiotics out there, and you kind of have rotated and given us different ones. What are some basic ones for people to get, and should they be rotating the different types of probiotics that they take?
Yeah, I mean, immune function really does depend largely on the health of the gut and also the balance and the diversity of the microbiome. And so the most important thing is to be eating a colorful, majority plant-based diet, a diet that's very high in plant foods, colorful plant foods. That is going to be the most important thing that a person can do to ensure the balance and the diversity of their microbiome, because those plant foods provide or have indigestible fibers that we can't digest but serve as fuel for those beneficial microbes that regulate and educate our immune system to be not only efficient, but also tolerant of the things in our environment, so that we're not overreacting or underreacting.
Nice. Yeah, I remember being introduced. Right, it was pretty close to right before I met you. I went to I can't remember what he was, some type of he was an Ayurvedic doctor, and he introduced me to probiotics. You may not know this, but I did a little bit of damage to my gut in my early 20s. And he could see that and helped me rebalance things. So the probiotics really helped me get a good foundation. And I can feel a difference when I don't take them versus when I do take them.
Yeah, a lot of people feel better taking probiotics. And, in our society where we're not eating enough plant foods and getting enough fiber in, to feed those microbes, or we're quick to take antibiotics. There's, chlorine in the water, which is, kills off our microbes. Maybe, if we're not eating organic foods, then there's, there are pesticides, herbicide residues on the food that also kill those good bugs off. And it's, they're not only helpful for our immune system, but for our mood as well and our stress response. For what I would first recommend for probiotics is including some fermented foods in the diet. That would be like a lacto-fermented sauerkraut or kimchi. These are found typically if you're going to buy these, they're in the health food store in the refrigerated section. You want to make sure that if you're getting sauerkraut, it says, fermented or lacto-fermented, or it says, contains probiotics. And that on the ingredient list, there's no vinegar, because the vinegar, if it's made with vinegar, then there are not going to be any actual probiotics in it.
So, one thing I hear a lot of people talk about is when they have to take antibiotics, it basically, those just wipe out everything in the gut, all the good and the bad stuff. So if you're taking antibiotics, when should you take probiotics? Should it be after you're finished, or when you're actually taking the antibiotics, and should you ever take them together or separately? How much time? What's the best way to take pro while you have to take anti?
Yeah, we definitely should, if a person has to take antibiotics, then you should definitely take probiotics at the same time, and just space them apart space the probiotics as far apart from the antibiotic dosing as possible.
So what if they have to take 2 rounds of antibiotics, like one in the morning, one 12 hours later? There's, is taking it 6 hours after the first dose, is that going to be helpful, or is it just going to kill everything when they take that second dose of antibiotics?
Well, it's better than not taking something, it's not going to be perfect, but it's better than not taking something.
So can they take the fermented foods you were talking about while they're taking antibiotics? Does that kind of does the antibiotics cancel the benefits of the fermented foods? Do they have to wait the same amount of time as if they were taking probiotics?
So intuitively, what I would recommend is eating fermented foods like a lacto-fermented sauerkraut, as a condiment throughout the day with meals. But a person would need to start low and go slow with those, because not everybody's going to tolerate a couple forkfuls of sauerkraut 3 times a day, like right away. So just small bits, but then working up to a couple forkfuls with meals, with 3 times a day, on and off of antibiotics.
Nice. So kind of shifting gears a little bit, you recently did a hydration challenge for a group that you ran, and you had me drinking this pink Himalayan sea salt water. I can't remember, you called it like Cirque du Soleil or something.
No, it's called a Soleil. I did so for the hydration challenge, we included salt, because if you're deficient in salt, if you're not getting enough salt, then you're also not getting enough water. Even if you're drinking tons of water, if you're not getting enough salt, then you're not going to hold on to your hydration. That's called a Soleil, and it's basically like a container, glass jar with the airlock, and you fill a quarter of the jar with the pink Himalayan salt, and then fill the rest up with water, shake it up, let it sit overnight. It creates this brine that you can just add a teaspoon a day, to total to your water, to help to make sure that you're getting enough salt with your water intake. But I think why you're bringing this up is that salt is really helpful at clearing mucus from the lungs and from the sinuses. So, just sprinkling a little bit of, like, if you do have symptoms, if you do have congestion, if you have a cough, especially a dry cough, salt is really good to just sprinkle. And I would use like a pink Himalayan salt. Just sprinkle some on the tongue and then drink a full glass of water, and it can really help clear up the lungs.
Nice. Thanks for that. And I imagine since so many athletes obviously need to stay hydrated, this is crucial for athletes, and it's a good thing for them to do as well, not just in trying to fight off sickness, but just to stay hydrated as an athlete.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and, with athletes, training a lot and losing a lot of fluid, through sweat and respiration, making sure that, number one, you're getting enough water to meet your needs, but then, having that salt in there as well so that you're holding on to that hydration.
Nice. Thanks for all this info. So I want to shift gears again. We raised an athlete ourselves who's now 20, and she was she did soccer, volleyball, basketball, rugby, water polo, swimming. She did a lot of sports, and she wasn't the most open to your nutritional input at the time. And what kind of advice can you give parents who are trying to implement these things? The vitamin C you can hide in smoothies and stuff, but the spirulina is going to change their smoothies to be green. The taste may be different for them, so they may not be into it. Same thing with the mushrooms and the fermented foods, things like that. So what kind of advice can you give to parents to kind of, I guess, convince their kids to try these things and that it's to their benefit?
Yeah, well, I will say that the mushrooms can be, like, if you have a tincture or even a powder, like that can be put into a smoothie. If you can get your kid to drink smoothies, that's a really great way to get some of these things in. The spirulina, yes, it does change the color and the taste, but you can just start low with that and just sort of work it up slowly, and they'll kind of allow their taste buds to slowly get used to that. But I think with kids, it's education, especially adolescents. Just talking to them, just leveling with them, and talking with them about the benefits of, what you're wanting to try, and, talking to them in a way that's, you're asking them what are their goals, what it is, or just kind of picking up on if they're wanting to improve their performance, tying it into improvement of their performance or whatever it is that's important to them.
Nice. That's great advice. And you've talked about the importance of balanced emotional health in maintaining a good immune system. Do you have any tips for people on how to do that for themselves as parents and how to help their children with that aspect as well?
Yeah, well, as you know, in my practice as an integrative, holistic dietitian, working with people with chronic diseases, autoimmune issues, digestive issues. What I found is that, I could tailor a program to their needs, and, they could be doing all the right things. But if we weren't dealing with stress, then we couldn't get the immune system, to balance out, and we couldn't get the digestive tract to heal. And, get the microbiome back in balance, which again comes back to, supporting immune function. So that became a really big focus for me in my practice. And some of the things that I might recommend for parents, is really practicing first you got to practice this with yourself, but really, and you talk about this a lot on here, is, that unconditional love. Really allowing our kids to have the experience that they're having, rather than trying to fix it, rather than, calling them out about it, or invalidating their experience, wanting it to be different. Just allowing them the space to feel whatever it is that they're feeling. That can be really helpful. With our kids, we've done breath work as well. And both of them have responded pretty, positively to that, and have been interested in it. So, just taking some deep breaths together when there's, when your child is stressed, helps to at least 6 deep breaths, slow deep breaths in the nose, out the mouth. Helps to switch the nervous system. There's some other forms of breath work. Well, one that I really like, it's breath work, but it's also a gratitude practice, which is establishing heart-brain coherence. Which is, getting the heart and the brain, on the same frequency. And it's getting out of the head and the overthinking and into the heart, where we're not seeing from a place of judgment or fear or lack. We're just allowing, whatever is coming up, and seeing the beauty and perfection in everything and in ourselves. So that is just placing one hand over the heart and breathing in the nose for 4 counts, and then out the mouth for 6 counts, really long and slow exhales. And focusing at the same time, focusing on either gratitude or love. Because when we focus on gratitude or love, which are really the same thing, we can't also focus on our fear or our frustration or our worry. It basically helps to shift our thoughts away from fear, away from anxiety, worry, stress, and onto love. The mind can only serve one master at a time, either fear or love. And so I love the heart-brain coherence exercise to help shift the nervous system and to help shift the thinking. I find that is very helpful.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. So you and I are basically running the same special during this time. And I don't want to say what it is for me, because you can just say what it is for both of us. But what is this special that you're running for people right now, and how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I felt guided around the same time that you did to offer a pay what you can afford rate for my 6 and 12 month healing programs. And I don't typically offer sessions outside of those committed programs, but during this time, when I know that, there's just a lot more stress and people are really needing support, I am offering single sessions, and those are pay what you can afford. And that's for the transformative coaching services that I offer. Functional nutrition, integrative holistic nutrition can be added, but it's a whole other service that takes up a lot more of my time. So there are regular pricing still in place for that. My website is www.enlightenedwellnessfx.com.
Nice. And just to put it out there for people, we have worked with couples before, and it's been really, really powerful for them. At least my part of the couple seems pretty happy with what's going on. So, to get one person in a family or in a relationship to experience the transformative coaching can really cause an amazing shift. But to get both people involved, both couples or 2 members of the household involved in transformative coaching is really amazing as well. So I recommend that if you want to work with Angie, don't hesitate. She's an absolutely incredible coach and human being. I'm not just saying that because she's sitting next to me right now, but she really is, and she's very, very talented, and everyone benefits from working with her. And again, I'm not just saying that. So reach out to her, reach out to me. We are both here for you. And Angie, do you have any last words before we say goodbye? Well, before we say I'll see you in the other room.
Well, thanks for having me on, Gabe. And I really am enjoying the couples work that we are getting to do together, but separately. And it is going really well. And, that's definitely what changed our lives, the course of our lives, our marriage, our relationship with our children, was both you and I receiving transformative coaching at the same time and just really getting onto the same page in a very powerful way. It shifted things very quickly in our household. And would be very, would welcome the opportunity to do more of that work for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And to everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed this. Hope this was beneficial. I know it always is for me to listen to whatever Angie has to say because I listen to every word she has to say.
Yes.
And as always, much love to you and many blessings.